Let's just dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're dissecting something that literally impacts every single area of your life, and that's the anatomy of true self-worth. Think of this as us building an emotional toolkit together. We're going to help you protect your energy, recognize your true value, and navigate what can sometimes be an incredibly confusing world of relationships.
Now this demands a massive paradigm shift. I want you to ask yourself, what if the rejections and the red flags in your life aren't actually signs of failure, but are instead actively protecting you? Well, today we are going to completely flip your perspective on those painful experiences. We're turning them from moments of defeat into really powerful mechanisms for your own protection.
So, here's our roadmap for The Explainer. We're synthesizing deep psychology, ancient stoicism, and spiritual intuition. We'll be looking at the quest for connection, spotting emotional predators, the power of stoic silence, signs of true alignment, and finally, your intrinsic self-worth. Let's get to it.
Starting with part 1, the quest for connection, and how we navigate the modern world.
As humans, we have this absolutely universal drive to connect with others. But in the modern world, that drive actually leaves us incredibly vulnerable to what we call the conditioning trap. Culturally, we're taught to constantly give people the benefit of the doubt, right? To see a person's potential instead of looking at their current reality. We're basically taught that it's super noble to try and heal someone rather than just protecting ourselves. And the problem is, this conditioning systematically lowers our natural defenses. It completely sets the stage for the psychological manipulation that we so often face in modern relationships.
That brings us to Section 2, spotting emotional predators, or what I like to call the fire alarm.
Okay, so we need to start treating certain behaviors not just as, quirky personality traits, but as absolute blaring fire alarms. Enter the emotional predator. This is someone who uses highly specific language patterns designed to test your boundaries, lower your standards, and ultimately make you question your own reality. They're constantly testing to see exactly how much you're willing to shrink yourself just to fit their comfort zone. So let's look at the specific weapons they use. Weapon number 1 is a classic. You're too sensitive, or you're overreacting. I mean, we've all heard it, right? But listen, when someone says this to you, they are actively dismissing your emotional intelligence. It's straight-up psychological manipulation, designed to plant a tiny seed of self-doubt. It makes you start second-guessing and monitoring your own natural reactions, wondering if you are, in fact, just being quote-unquote too much.
Then, of course, there's the old reliable, "I'm just being honest." And you'll notice it's almost always delivered right after a deliberately cruel comment. It is a massive trap. It masks cruelty as a virtue, completely forcing you into a corner where you suddenly feel needy just for wanting basic human kindness. But as the sources point out, true honesty is always delivered with compassion. It is never used as a weapon.
Now, emotional predators also love to accuse you of being controlling whenever you try to speak up. But you have to understand the crucial difference here. Controlling behavior limits someone else's freedom for power. Setting a standard, on the other hand, simply communicates what you need to feel safe and respected. Never, ever let someone gaslight you into abandoning your standards just by slapping the controlling label on you.
Now, according to the psychological frameworks we're exploring, an overwhelming 99% of people actually miss this final, most devastating manipulation tactic. It is super subtle, but it's highly destructive. And it's the phrase, "you've changed," but delivered as a criticism. It implies that your personal growth, your evolution, and your newly found boundaries are somehow a betrayal of who you used to be. But what's the actual truth? The truth is, they just feel threatened by your expansion because honestly, they prefer a smaller, more manageable version of you. Someone who truly loves you is going to champion your growth. They won't criticize it.
Moving on to Section 3, the power of stoic silence, or the shield of the mind.
This is where we get to use ancient philosophy as a sort of mental shield. We process rejection through stoic reverse psychology. So instead of seeing a slammed door as a loss of your personal value, I want you to reframe it. A no from the outside world is actually a protective redirection. It's literally the universe clearing the lane for you. Think of it as a giant invitation to say a massive yes to your own independence and personal growth.
So, how do we actually put this into practice? Well, it takes 3 simple steps. First, ignore the indifference. Just reflect their energy right back at them. Second, remove them from your mind entirely so you can detach your self-worth from their approval. And third, build your internal value. Take all that energy and channel it directly into your own growth.
Look, chasing attention is essentially begging for validation from someone who is completely indifferent to you. It's exhausting and it drains you.
Stoic silence, though, that reclaims your energy. It is not some sort of passive defeat. It's actually a highly strategic boundary. It's you saying, I respect myself way too much to chase anyone. If you ever need a mental cheat sheet for handling rejection, just remember these 5 Stoic rules. 1. Do not react emotionally. 2. Detach and redirect your focus. 3. Embrace your silence as power. 4. Invest in self-improvement. And 5. Never reveal your struggle to the person rejecting you. Always maintain your composure.
All right, Section 4, Signs of True Alignment. This is what we call the quiet compass.
So we've looked at the psychology, and we've explored the Stoic mind. Now let's dive into the intuitive framework. I want you to think of this as a quiet compass. If toxic relationships are those blaring fire alarms we talked about earlier, true alignment is what's called the unsettled settling. It's this incredibly quiet, internal reorientation that just naturally points you towards a genuine connection, completely free of any forced anxiety or effort.
Our sources highlight 7 clear signs of this alignment. You might feel a sort of unexplained restlessness as your life reorients itself, or you might notice closed doors actually acting as protection. You'll probably experience unbidden thoughts about the person, a really deep, unmanufactured peace, and a suddenly clear life direction. But above all, you'll feel this profound weight of responsibility toward the connection, rather than just some fleeting temporary warmth.
And that brings us to the 7th sign, which honestly is the most vital of them all. Recognition becomes movement. When a connection is truly real, it doesn't leave you guessing across a silent room for months or years. It puts its shoes on, it steps right towards you. Simply knowing this is, without a doubt, your ultimate protection.
Finally, Section 5. Your intrinsic self-worth. Let's bring all of this together. This is where the psychological shield, the Stoic mind, and the intuitive spirit all merge into one single truth. And it's this. Your boundaries aren't walls that keep love out, they're gates that let the right love in. By setting standards and embracing silence when you need to, you are actively building a gate that only allows genuine, aligned connection to enter your life.
So I'm going to leave you with this one final thought. Are you shrinking your life right now just to fit someone else's comfort? Or are you actively making space for those who will truly celebrate your growth? Remember, you are absolutely not responsible for healing people who hurt you, but you are 100% responsible for honoring your own value. Thank you so much for exploring this explainer with me today. Go out there and keep making space for your own growth.